We now get to a very special part of our service today as we welcome our guest speaker, Reverend Karen Tudor. She enjoyed a 20-year background in healthcare before being ordained as a Unity minister in 1994. She served as a senior associate manager at the Unity of Houston for a total of 12 years. And that was in Bromford, Texas, and that was for 13 years. Throughout her career, she also spent 1 year as a hospice chaplain and served on the boards of Unity, South Central Region, and the Unity Worldwide Ministries. After retirement from full-time in November 2022, Reverend Karen is spending time exploring art, music, and travel to see old friends and family with her husband, William. One of their goals is they want to experience more U.S. national parks. And Reverend Karen also spends time studying animism and shamanism with a leader in Wales. Life is good. So let's please welcome Reverend Karen Tudor.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Lovely introduction that I wrote for you. It's so wonderful to see your faces again. Thank you so much. I love this Ottawa Kitchener community. I love what you do together and how you come together. And I heard you celebrating that idea of unity at the very beginning. So it's just a joy to be with you. And we're all, sending love and good wishes with C and with Anne as they have this wonderful experience, one of the final, I think, steps in their training and, celebration, really, I suspect, at Unity Village here in the States. So anyway, I'm so proud of them and so happy for them. And I'm so happy to be able to make it possible for them to miss this Sunday, which I know they're starting on their journey today, actually. So choosing to love first. I thought the thing that we might do first is go straight to the source. In Luke chapter 10, verse 25 through 37, the familiar story of the Good Samaritan is Jesus' way of celebrating and talking about love. But it comes to him as a question. It says, on one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law, he replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself. You have answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself. So he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds and took care of him. And the next day, he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? Jesus asked. The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. Now, this is a familiar story to us, and in the 21st century, we may not really get all of the nuances of what the listeners at the time of Jesus teaching and at the time that he was speaking and the climate in which he lived, the significance of what he had just taught in this beautiful story and the ways in which it unfolded. You see, the conundrum for the first century Jews listening to him was that the Torah purification laws that the Levite and the priest were observing were obvious and they were expected. And in some ways, there was really no question that they couldn't get blood on their garments, because if they did, they would have to remove themselves from serving in the temple for at least a week, I believe, maybe longer. But they would have to be remain purified and ready for service at any time. And the other thing that they needed to juggle was the obvious need to do some good. And a holy man should be able and willing to do good, because that is also the expectation of God. And the other thing is that what really happens here and what we see is an adherence to the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, and confronting the two of those and really looking at how do I read this? How do I act from this? All the listeners already had a prejudice about who's worthy and who's good, because Samaritans were considered the lowest of the low. And in fact, the Samaritans, as you may already know, did not worship in the Jewish temple of Jerusalem. They actually worshipped instead on the mountain in their country, in their territory, as a kind of a remnant of how the north and south kingdoms, when they split, how they were existing at the time of Jesus. And they never came back to the south and went to the temple in Jerusalem, but were instead celebrating all of their worship services and all of that on the mountaintop, and did not practice a lot of what the Jews in the South did. And so naturally, they were already seeing an unworthy person, but yet showing such extreme, really, compassion for a stranger who was beaten up on the road. And then you have Samaritan versus the priest and Levite. This is a difficult challenge. This is the opportunity that Jesus gave for reordering what's important and how to really live life in practical ways. The rationalizations that we often go to, the purification of the law in their case, and doing versus doing good, who's worthy, who's good, what is our responsibility? Don't we confront that in our own lives? What's expected of me? How far should I go? Who is my neighbor? Who's worthy? I mean, I'll tell you what, in the 21st century, I don't think we have that all down pat. We have to always ask ourselves and reorder our own viewpoints of who we include in our circle. Who do we reach out to? Who are the ones that we care about? And where does our caring reach a limit, right? Compassion is above rationalization, though. The Samaritan traveled the highway himself. It says that he was traveling down, and from Jericho, from Jericho to, forget where they started, Da-da-da. Jerusalem, of course. So Jericho to Jerusalem, he was coming actually, well, I don't know which way he was coming. I don't know if he was coming from home to Jerusalem or traveling back, but that would be a very busy trade pathway. So it was very busy. There were often merchants going back and forth. Very likely he was a merchant, which was allowed him to be carrying that size of money on him, and was going back and forth, and found himself on that road and knew very well of the danger of robbers. And to see that an injured man on the side of the road could have been him, it struck him, to the bone, to see what could have happened to him. He simply did what he would have wanted someone else to do for him if he were in that situation. It's the golden rule, after all, a universal understanding, human to human, seeing humanity and shared condition. Is easy to have compassion in that moment. It is, in fact, the second command that that the expert in the law recited to Jesus, the second command, love your neighbor as yourself. This is exactly what was meant by these words. Our choice to love indiscriminately, unconditionally, is our spiritual responsibility. Love doesn't know bounds. Love doesn't know boundaries or unworthiness or choosing this one over that one, hierarchies. Love flows. It flows as a power, and it encompasses and embraces everything, everyone. We are all called to render aid and support as we can, speak up for and bind up those who fall by the wayside. None of us has the luxury to walk on the other side of the street anymore. How was the Samaritan able to do what he did? And when he saw him, he took pity on him. How he did it was he made a decision to love first. He didn't go pilfering through the pockets trying to find out what kind of a person this was. Was this a worthy person? Was this a beggar? Was this himself a robber who fell out with his group? He doesn't examine any of this. Not said that he hesitated a moment before he went to him and bandaged his wounds. It was a decision to love first, unconditional, not transactional, not, quid pro quo, I'll get something from this. He moved from head to heart and let his heart take the lead. Loving without regard for the type or worthiness of the person, impersonal love. Now that doesn't sound very warm and fuzzy, does it? Impersonal love. But in fact, impersonal love is indiscriminate. It is an openness and a willingness to let our love fall on everyone in our path, and even those behind us, even those we haven't met, even those we haven't really encountered, because of a decision that we have chosen to step into and to let our love be a constant state. Impersonal love, yet intimately embracing love, because it shares all without holding back. This is the first command that the expert in the law recited. This is the way how to step into unconditional love. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. A unified state of being, a complete agreement within the entire being of each of us. A decision to be in harmony with the love, knowing that it is the most powerful thing we could do. It is the most useful. It is the greatest healing. It can magnetize everything to us. It brings every good into expression, not just from us, but for us as well. A state of love that we choose to be in is not turned on and turned off. It is always operational when we remember to choose that. Love is a state of being that defines who we are in the world. It expresses our souls, our authentic selves, so that I bring forth my care and gifts whenever I allow myself to let the light within me shine that bright. The love carries that into service around me, whether I'm even aware of it always or not. Let nothing, no one take that away from you. Your authentic self, your soul, does not need to be measured against worthiness. It is always ready to be in service. When we choose to love, we do it without targets for our love. You and you and you over there, but not any of these others. I don't know them. I have an excuse. I have a rationalization. I don't express my love here. I know these, but I'm not sure I want my love to go there. Now, I have taken a step back. I am no longer love. I am transaction. I am quid pro quo. I am measuring it out in spoonfuls rather than lavishly opening myself to the world that has already loved me first. We love because that's who and what we are. Our polarized political climate seems pervasive, not just in polite conversations about politics, or is it even possible to have any one of those anymore? But the divisiveness enters our workplaces, our social media, and news feeds. Our families and extended families, even our homes at times. As spiritual beings, though, how do we remain principled and yet loving toward those we believe are just so wrong, maybe even dangerously wrong, in our opinion? In ministry leadership, excuse me, I have learned an extremely hard-earned lesson. As someone in authority with responsibility most of my adult life, making the best decisions that I know how to make have come simply with the territory. But my decisions have not always been agreed with or without fallout in my relationships with others. I don't know what this is. It will not go away. That's okay. I'll just talk like a frog for a little bit. Through the years, I have found that relationship always trumps being right. Always. Now, listen to me. Not instead of doing the right thing. I don't back off. I can't. I have a responsibility, and I have an integrity, and I have ethics, and I have principles that I have to find my own peace, and I have to be at peace with myself as well. Not just to befriend somebody else or to make it okay for them. I have to do what I believe is the right thing, even if it turns out to be not the right thing at some point down the road. I know I acted to the best of my knowledge at the time. So I choose still to do the right thing, even though I know it may alienate someone or anger someone. I do it. I do the right thing, not instead, but I have always reached out in relationship in spite of this challenge that lies between us. I do it in my own way, clumsily at times, belatedly at other times, delayed, whatever I finally realized what it is I need to do to restore a relationship, or at least to clear my side of the street. reaching out and extending a willingness to listen to the hurt or the disagreement, to allow a person to be angry with me without defensiveness, without justifying myself. Oh boy, that's the hardest part. I have 9 reasons why I did what I did, and I think they just don't understand. But when I realize it's not about any of that, it's me listening, it's me to be not defended, but open. My love, the love that is flowing through me, it isn't my love even, it is just, I am the aperture for the universal love to flow through me, is endless. It is so big. It can embrace both of us. And it embraces us all the way back to our history and all the way forward into our future. Being willing to really listen and reconsider my position or amend a decision while honestly, genuinely loving them gives us an opportunity to reconcile, even if it doesn't go back to the way it was. Sometimes it doesn't, and that's not always a bad thing. Teilhard de Chardin said, "Love alone is capable of uniting living beings in such a way as to complete and fulfill them, for it alone takes them and joins them by what is deepest in themselves." Would you like to hear that again? Teilhard de Chardin said, "Love alone is capable of uniting living beings in such a way as to complete and fulfill them, for it alone takes them and joins them by what is deepest in themselves." Likewise, loving those we disagree with politically or religiously or socially provides a rich, fertile field of possibility for changes of heart to occur with others, as well as within ourselves. It enables us to become sensitized to a variety of human reactions and experiences, not just our own and what we think is right. Society, like human beings themselves, doesn't change by what is thought, but rather by what is deeply felt. Staying open, not choosing to close down or run away, not discounting or arguing, but having hard, respectful conversations with genuine curiosity and a desire to understand is the opening to real growth, real change. And in this climate, it is an unusual place. Most of us, myself included, choose to withdraw, choose to stop talking, choose to change the subject. There are times, though, that we'll find ourselves wanting to be closer to that person, wanting to restore, to get past this block that keeps us more alienated from each other, keeps us more removed. And to face that and to talk about that and be willing to hear from one another and to say what is truly on our own hearts. When we love first, we greet everyone on our path with curiosity and openness and see them as clearly as we can, beyond their flaws to their innocence. Our love will help us to set healthy boundaries with those incapable of treating us fairly, respectfully, or with dignity, while being willing to believe greater goodness resides within them than they are expressing. Please don't use this idea of giving love as a requirement that you must be a doormat to everyone else's desires or preferences or choices. Not in any way. Love is a power. It is a strength. It enables us to stand fully aligned in mind, body, heart, soul, just as the command tells us, is we are united, we are a strength. And in that, we stand for the things we stand for. We have boundaries of behavior that's acceptable. That doesn't change. That doesn't mean I love you any less if you don't get to come and hurt me with your words and your actions, or to take from me things that belong to me, or to do things in my presence that you know violate my own ethics or my morals. And you don't get to come and live in my house. It is not okay. I realize that there is a place that you can be, but it does not mean I withdraw my love for the person that I know that you are at depth, because I believe each of us are created as good at depth, whether they are capable of expressing it now and at this time in their life. If they ever will be, it's important for me to not pull back, because in that moment, I also forget not only their goodness, but my own. You see? This is the field of unconditional love that Jesus lived and taught us to create. Jalaluddin Rumi said, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. I leave you with this one story before I close. Reverend Bob Lukin tells a story about a man he knew. He tells the story this way. He lived in a small room without air conditioning in one of Florida's many communities for the aging. He was in poor health. He had little money, and his walker was his transportation. I met him in a coffee shop. The coffee shop was full with only one extra chair at his table. I looked over at it and caught his eye. He nodded, inviting me to join him. There was a kindness in his eyes and a voice that reminded me of an old folk song. Looking up at me with a smile, he said, young man, life is good, very good. Every day I meet wonderful people and I fall in love. Most folks don't think an old guy like me can fall in love. The truth is, I have been doing it for over 80 years and couldn't stop if I wanted to. Life is just so good. It makes me smile. He went on. Being retired gives a person the time they need to really see people's hearts and souls. Once you see who people are under all the cover-up, you just can't help but love them. He finished with this. I make time and have the energy to love my life and all those who share it with me. I am a lover, he said. Swami Ram Dass said, just as a flower gives out its fragrance to whomsoever approaches or uses it, so love from within us radiates towards everybody and manifests as spontaneous service. And so it is with unconditional love. When you have a willingness to love first, the details fill themselves in later when you finally meet the person to love. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. Choose to love first. God bless you.